What up guys, Fojo here, and today I'm bringing to you a money making guide, but this one will be for the higher level players, level 60, what you can do at the max level to make a lot of money, how to do it, and some of the ways that I make money in the game, and even a few bonus tips at the end if you stick around to the end. But real quick, if you guys could like the video and subscribe to the channel, I would truly appreciate that. About 90% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel, and that would really help me out if you could do that really quick, as well as hit that bell to let you know exactly when new videos drop and new content comes out so you can check it out. And if you could leave a comment about if these money making tips helped you out, or if you have one you want to add to the list, I would love to hear it and love to know about it. But to start us off, one of mine that I like to do a lot is going on trophy mat runs. Trophy mat runs will vary quite a bit, and so will a lot of the different things in this guide because higher level money making is very variable dependent and can change depending on what you did, how well you did, and what you were doing. How many other people are also after those resources as well. In trophy mat runs, you run through multiple different areas of the map, mainly Ebon Scale Reach, Shattered Mountain, and Reekwater. These are the best spots to get trophy materials. And going on these chest runs, you can gain anywhere from 7,000 to 20,000 a run. It really depends on what you're getting as drops, what you're gaining from these different chests. And if you were to get a very valuable drop, then your money per hour will go up for sure. But out of 10 runs that I did, I averaged them all out and made about 8,000 per hour doing these runs. So if you were a little more lucky, you would definitely make more money during these runs, and that's going to be dependent on what you're getting and how well you're doing. But still a very viable way to make some money on here, and a good way to make consistent money as you go through, gaining materials, trophy mats, and pieces of furniture that are worth quite a bit of money. Now, another one that's kind of a very simple way to make some money is to go out and gather lodestone. Lodestone is a resource that generally sells for around 2 gold each, if not more. It's a resource that is always going to be needed and will constantly be a resource that is wanted. So if you're able to go out and mine this successfully and get a decent amount per hour, you should make 6,500 to 8,500 an hour doing this and be able to make quite a bit of money doing this. Now, again, this is very dependent on other players and how many people are also mining lodestone on your server and how many people are after that resource. But my suggestion would also be to make this part of a run, make lodestone, orichalcum, and star metal all part of a run, and go through and mine different resources in a run that you have created in order to get as much value out of your runs as possible, because doing so could add more value to your runs and make even more money for you. But lodestone alone will make you 6,500 to 8,500 an hour if you are able to get enough of it. Now, another big one, which will sound familiar to the first one, is going to be elite chest runs. Elite chest runs are super variable depending on what you're getting from these chests and how many legendary drops you're getting as well. You can make hundreds of thousands of gold in one run, but that's very rare and you have to get very lucky in order to do that. So in general, you're not going to make that much, but if you happen to luck out, you could make lots and lots of gold on these runs. But on average, you're going to be making closer to 18 to 19,000 gold on these if you go through the entirety of the run and go to all the different runs across the world. This will take multiple hours, so it's not a hourly rate, but doing these does give you the opportunity to get very rare pieces of equipment and will also give you the ability to consistently make money either way. And now that means that you're going through all the different elite chest runs, through Merkgard, through Mines, Mal, all these different ones that people go on through the day. It doesn't take too long to get through all of these, but it does take several hours. So if you're taking that into account, you probably won't make as much money in an hour doing this if you were to do something else that was more consistent. But this does have potential for big money gains for specific things if you were lucky enough to catch that drop. And next up we have farming for crafting gear. Farming for crafting gear seems to be overlooked a little bit and doesn't get looked at as much because it's kind of an odd one. You have to specifically go out and farm a mob for a certain drop, and sometimes you feel like you're not getting that drop hardly at all, and sometimes you feel like you're getting a ton of those drops. So if you can find a mob that seems to drop more crafting gear than others, you can make 20 to 60,000 gold an hour pretty easily. There are certain mobs that tend to drop crafting gear a little faster than others. Like, you're not going to get 10 weapon pants in an hour by any means, and you're not going to get a bunch of armor smithing hats either. But you may get a bunch of chef pants or weaponsmith shoes or gloves in a pretty short amount of time from the mobs that are a little easier to kill. You can kill them faster, and you can get a lot more per hour, which is giving you a lot more chances per hour to have these drops and the ability to get them. Whereas the mobs that take 6 minutes or more to spawn will give you a lot fewer chances per hour, which makes it a lot harder to make a lot of money during those hours. And now this is variable as well because it is dependent on luck how much you are getting these dropped in an hour. You could have 1 hour where you get 5 of these to drop, or you could have an hour where you get none. So it's more of a average out of, if you were to come here for 5 hours, you could probably make this much. You could probably make 20 to 60,000 gold per hour consistently here. And a good example of that is the weaponsmith gloves. You can get them from a Yeti, and the kills are fairly easy to do and fairly quick to do as well, and isn't a hassle to do so. 20 to 60,000 gold an hour is very doable. But one thing to remember on this is that the prices on all these will always be changing. You do have to pay attention to what is going on in the market on your server, what things are worth, what mobs are worth going after to farm, and which ones aren't, because some drops will be much more profitable than others at one time or another, and you may have to change things up from time to time in order to keep making money in a space. The next method I'm going to tell you about is going to be dungeon running, or running M10 specifically. I know that people make ridiculous amounts of money while running mutations. I do it to experience the dungeon and get through all the different mutations for the fun of it. And at the top, I know it's crazy money to be made. I just don't run them on repeat as much as the people do, but I know that they have plenty of money to spend and never have problems buying anything. It's just a very big variable on how much you can make and what you're going to be making specifically, because the drops you get are going to make all the difference about how much money you're going to make in that dungeon. But running mutations will give you at least a better chance at getting legendary drops, and getting those good pieces of armor or weapons that are worth a lot of money will give you a better chance at making that higher value per item you get will balance out over time as good money making for the hours you put into it. Now, I want to say that all of these different money makers are very, very, very dependent on players in the game, the market, how it's working at the time, what things are worth, and being able to do these things every day. With the chest runs and elite chest runs, trophy mats will always be changing what's worth more than others and how much they are, and you can always find new items and better items in the next run you do. I just want to say that a lot of these will change over time. Certain things will not be worth what they are now and will change, and other things will rise in prices and lower in prices. But each server is also different on pricing, so make sure to do your research here. Make sure to know what's worth something, what's not, and to go after the things that are. And if you can, run some dungeons, run some elite chest runs. These are great ways to make some money at the top of the game, and some of the best ways in game to do so. If you're stuck around this long, here's a couple bonus ones for you. I appreciate you sticking around this long, but one of them is to pay attention to the game. This may sound strange, but if you pay attention to the game, you know when the updates are coming out, you know what's happening in the next update, you can prepare well enough to make some money, and do so by buying the right items, selling the right items, and understanding what the market's going to do in the next update. When the Void Gauntlet first got released, I was able to make a ton of money because I got a ton of materials ready the day before the update, and the next day I cranked out a bunch of Void Gauntlets and sold them all for a huge profit because everyone wanted one and no one had a way to get one unless they went out and made one, or if they were able to go and find one from a drop from a mob somewhere. So I was able to supply the market with the amount of demand that it needed, along with the other players that had done the same thing. And all the players that did that made a ton of money doing it. Now with this next update, the Greatsword will be doing the same thing. There will be a ton of players trying to make great swords and throw them on the market for a ton of money, and people will be buying them because they don't want to make them themselves, or they don't know how to get them yet. So This is a great way to make some money by paying attention to the game, knowing what's happening in the next updates, and being able to read what's going to happen. And now, being able to read what's going to happen is another method where you can play with the market a little bit. Play with flipping some items, play with understanding what's going to happen or guessing at what's going to happen and investing in some of these things. Like the defiled rabbit feet from months ago when the rabbit event was around. I bought out hundreds and hundreds of rabbit feet for around 90 to 100 gold each. They are now worth 300 to 350. So in doing that, I was able to triple my money on a huge investment that I made way back. And all I had to do was buy a bunch of items and let them sit in my bank and not touch them. And that was able to make me tens and thousands of gold very, very easily without me doing any work at all, any time in the game, just simply buying some items, holding on to them, and then selling them later on. Now, the problem with these methods is that these two different things are always going to be dependent on how much knowledge in the game you have, how much time you have to research things in the game, and if you're able to do these different things. But over time, I will be releasing more videos on describing these different things and trying to do more of it so that you guys don't have to do as much research or work for it. These are some good ways to do that, and investing in different items over time is a good way to do that, and paying attention and figuring out what the next updates are doing, what's happening, and even popping into the PTR and understanding the new mechanics of each update are a great way to understand what to do and how to prepare for the next update in order to know what's going to happen and what people will be needing to buy in the future in order to be ready for the update and to fully be able to enjoy the update when they come back to it. But I wanted to thank you guys so much for listening to me talk about a little bit of money making on New World and how I do it, how I go about making money on New World at a higher level. But thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. If you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, I would really, really appreciate that. If you have a better way to make money on New World, I'd love to hear it. I'm always looking for new ways to do it. So please drop them in the comments and let everybody know what you're up to, how you're doing it. And we'll have more videos out soon. I hope to see you there.